you want to become a millionaire in 2025, then ignore 99% of what you're being taught. This isn't about hustle. It's not about trends or shortcuts. The Phase 1 strategy to print millionaires isn't flashy. It's foundational. It's the simple system building that so few understand and even fewer execute. While others chase fads, you'll be building the machine that prints results, cash consistent, unstoppable. Everyone wants the millionaire tag, but very few know how to build it intentionally. It's not about grinding harder or finding the next viral trend. It's about mastering one system, refining it and running it until it produces predictable results. That's the real Phase 1 strategy in 25E, system over style. Whether it's sales, marketing, or product design, focus on the process that converts again and again, because one sale is a smile, a system that sells on repeat. That's a business. Here's the thing, systems aren't sexy. They don't give you temporary dopamine, but they give you something far more powerful: freedom, stability, momentum. In 2025, trends come and go. Algorithms shift, but a well-built system stands firm. Compound interest in money only matters when you have a system to feed it. That's the difference between a flash in the pan and a legacy brand. So stop looking for shortcuts. Stop chasing tricks. Build the one system that will let you print millionaires. Not someday, but starting now, every year. A new wave of entrepreneurs floods the internet chasing the next big thing. Crypto today, AI tomorrow. Dropshipping last year. And you know what? Most of them end up exactly where they started: broke, burnt out, and confused. Not because those industries don't work, but because they chase hype over structure. They jump on trends hoping that the next one will be their big break. But here's the truth. You don't get rich chasing trends. You get rich building systems. A trend gives you attention. A system gives you leverage. Hype gets you a few clicks. A system gets you clients for life. Most people fail not because they lack motivation, but because they keep starting over every time a new shiny object shows up. They've never built anything that works without their constant effort. They're always in launch mode, always reacting, always pivoting. That's not entrepreneurship. That's desperation dressed up in opportunity. The man who becomes a millionaire in 2025 won't be the one who jumped on the most trends. He'll be the one who built one simple system that solves a real problem and then scaled it like a machine. Systems are boring at first. They require thought, structure, repetition. You test something, you measure the result, and then you refine it over and over. That's not glamorous, but it's how every single successful business is built. Look at any big company. Amazon didn't explode because Jeff Bezos chased fads. He created a system, fast, reliable, affordable delivery, and then scaled the hell out of it. That's what winners do. They stop chasing the dopamine of new ideas and start embracing the discipline of execution. If you want real growth, forget what's trending. Ask yourself, what system can I build that earns, delivers, or scales value every single day without needing me to show up live every time? It could be a lead gen funnel, a productized service, a SaaS tool, a high retention community. The form doesn't matter. The system does. And here's what happens when you focus on systems. You stop being replaceable. Because while everyone else is learning how to catch the next trend, you're busy becoming the infrastructure behind results. That's how millionaires are built. Not by being loud. Not by being first. By being consistent through systems that don't fail when you do. So stop spending your energy studying what's hot. Start obsessing over what works and how to repeat it at scale. That's the strategy that will separate those who make noise from those who make millions. Anyone can win once. Anyone can have a lucky launch, land a big client, or hit a random 20K month. But that's not wealth. That's not security. That's a sugar high, and it disappears the moment reality hits. What separates real entrepreneurs from short-term players is one thing: they don't rely on momentum. They build machines. You don't need 10 different offers, 7 income streams, or 3 business models. You need one repeatable process that produces consistent results. A system that turns inputs into predictable outputs, like clockwork. Something that doesn't collapse when you take a break. Something that doesn't need a daily dopamine hit just to stay alive. The truth is, most people don't lack opportunity. They lack discipline. They keep jumping from one thing to the next because they're addicted to the idea of something new being the answer. But here's the thing: every new thing resets your progress. Every time you pivot, you start from zero again. That's why most people stay stuck, not because they're not talented, but because they never commit to mastery. Millionaires don't chase noise. They find what works and they build around it over and over and over again. Boring, maybe, but boring is what scales. One great funnel, one offer that converts, one system that fulfills. If you can repeat that with consistency, you don't just earn, you grow. You own the outcome, because when you can repeat success on demand, you're no longer at the mercy of the market. You've built your own economy. You're not relying on chance. You're relying on structure. That's the difference between amateurs and pros. Amateurs celebrate moments. Pros build mechanisms. And let's be honest, 10 quick wins will make you feel successful, but they won't give you leverage. They'll keep you busy, distracted, emotionally attached to results. But one repeatable system frees you. It gives you space to think, scale, breathe, and ultimately live on your terms. That's the point of entrepreneurship, not chaos, control. So what does a repeatable process look like? It's simple. It's measurable. It's something that can be documented, delegated, and automated. It's a strategy that turns effort into equity. Maybe it's a daily lead flow. Maybe it's a sales call framework. Maybe it's a content engine that brings inbound traffic. It doesn't matter what it is, only that it works again and again. This is how millionaires think. They're not smarter than you. They're not luckier. They just committed to one thing long enough to build the system behind it. And once they did, everything multiplied. Forget the 10 wins you could chase this year. Build the one system that will pay you every year. Because in the end, that's not just how you survive the game. That's how you win it. Everyone wants to talk about compounding, compound interest, compound effort, compound skills. But the truth is, compounding only works if you've actually built something worth compounding. Without a solid foundation, compounding is just a buzzword. You can't multiply what you haven't stabilized. Think about this: if you're earning $100 a month from a weak offer, a broken funnel, or inconsistent content, what exactly are you compounding? Garbage multiplied is still garbage. If your process is flawed, scaling it won't fix it. It'll just expose it faster and louder. You need stability before scale, precision before momentum, and structure before growth. That's where most people go wrong. They hear gurus say, just be consistent or just post every day, and they assume that time alone creates wealth. But time is neutral. If your foundation is cracked, if your model is broken, your message is unclear, or your product doesn't solve a real problem, you're compounding failure. You're building a tower on sand. And when pressure comes, it all collapses. The man who becomes a millionaire in 2025 understands this. He doesn't just show up every day. He perfects the system he's showing up for. He knows the process inside and out. He understands his metrics. He iterates fast, tracks results, and doesn't confuse activity with progress. Because compounding only works if what you're doing is actually working. Let's be clear. Your first goal shouldn't be speed. It should be accuracy. Get one piece of your system rock solid. That might mean your offer, your close rate, your customer retention, or even your daily workflow. Once that piece is stable, then, and only then, do you compound it with consistency, volume, and automation. Imagine compounding 1% improvement every day on a broken system. All you're doing is locking in inefficiency. You're building habits that don't scale. On the flip side, imagine compounding 1% daily improvement on a solid foundation. That's where exponential growth lives. That's where wealth stops being effort driven and becomes system driven. People look at 7-figure entrepreneurs and think they just figured it out. No, they built a foundation first, one that could hold the weight of scale. That's why they don't panic in downturns. That's why their income doesn't collapse when the market shifts. Their business is a machine, not a moment. If your income swings wildly month to month, that's a sign you're compounding on instability. You need to slow down and fix the root, not rush forward hoping volume will cover it. Compounding is real, but only if what you're doing is worth repeating and multiplying. So ask yourself honestly, is what I'm building strong enough to scale? Or am I rushing to multiply something fragile? If you want lasting success, get serious about your foundation, because once it's set, compounding stops being a theory and starts becoming your reality. Most people treat their business like a grand performance. They launch it with hype, dramatic deadlines, flashy headlines, and countdown timers. And then 2 weeks later, the momentum is gone. The attention dies out. Sales dry up and they're back to square one, scrambling for the next big launch idea. But here's what the pros know. Real business isn't about launching. It's about scaling a machine that already works. You don't need to reinvent the wheel every month. You need to find what converts, refine it, and build a repeatable system that prints results even when you're not watching. The problem is launching is addictive. It gives you a rush. It feels like progress. It makes noise. But launching without data is just gambling in public. And if your product, funnel, or message hasn't been battle tested, if it doesn't work under pressure, then all you're doing is scaling chaos. That's why most people burn out, not because they don't have a good idea, but because they never turned that idea into a proven machine. Think about this. If something works at a small level, it will almost always work at a larger level if the system is tight. A machine doesn't need drama. It doesn't need hype. It needs clarity. It needs control. And it needs consistency. If you have that, you can scale without constantly launching. You can scale without burning your list, exhausting your audience, or spending more than you earn. The man who makes millions doesn't obsess over how to launch. He obsesses over how to repeat. He tracks numbers. He eliminates waste. He builds processes so tight they don't rely on emotion or charisma to succeed. That's the difference between a hustler and a builder. One is always chasing attention. The other builds a system that earns it automatically. Here's the formula: test to refine, to prove, to scale. Not test to launch to hope. You need to validate your offer, get feedback, adjust, see what the market responds to. Only then should you add volume, because when you scale a broken offer, you don't make more money. You just multiply frustration. If you're tired of the roller coaster, the adrenaline a launch week followed by silence, then it's time to shift from event thinking to machine thinking. Stop asking, what's my next big launch? And start asking, what machine am I building that can run without me? That's the question that builds wealth, because wealth isn't built on noise. It's built on systems that keep producing day after day without drama, without hype, and without fail. Launches end. Machines scale. And if you want to own your income, your freedom, and your future, it's time to stop launching and start building the machine. There's a lie most people believe, that millionaires are somehow born different, smarter, more talented, better connected. And because of that lie, they give themselves permission to stay average. They think wealth is about luck, inheritance, or being in the right place at the right time. But here's the truth: millionaires are made, not born. And the tool that makes them is ruthless execution. You don't become wealthy by thinking about it, journaling it, or vision boarding it. You become wealthy by doing the hard things over and over, especially when you don't feel like it, because execution is what separates the talkers from the builders, the dreamers from the earners, and the ambitious from the successful. Ideas are cheap, plans are easy, but follow through, that's rare. That's where the results live. People love to collect information. They binge podcasts, buy courses, read books. But information without implementation is just a dopamine hit. You feel productive, but you're not producing. Execution means taking one idea and going deep. Not starting 10 projects, not pivoting every week, but sticking to one path long enough to win. Look around. The ones who made it didn't have better ideas. They just had more discipline. They shipped the product when it wasn't perfect. They made the call when they were scared. They hired when it felt risky. They didn't wait for confidence. They created it through action. And here's the thing: execution isn't just about doing more. It's about doing what matters most consistently at a high standard. It means cutting distractions, saying no to shiny objects, obsessing over what works and doubling down. It's not sexy. It's not viral, but it's what creates wealth that doesn't disappear when the market shifts. Millionaires don't have more hours. They just use their hours differently. While others are tweaking logos or overthinking brand colors, they're making offers, collecting feedback, optimizing systems, and moving the needle. They understand that clarity comes from action, not from over-planning. Every time you execute, you build momentum. You become more confident, more skilled, more dangerous. And eventually, you cross a threshold where things that once felt hard become automatic. That's where freedom lives. Not in theory, but in mastery earned through repetition. So if you want to make millions, stop looking for secrets. Start looking at your calendar. What are you actually doing today to move closer? Are you building? Are you testing? Are you selling? Or are you stuck in perfectionism, fear, or consumption? The people you admire didn't start there. They became that person through the discipline of daily execution. And if you commit to doing the same relentlessly, consistently, your breakthrough won't be a matter of if. It'll be a matter of when, because millionaires aren't found, they're built through action, through systems, and through a level of execution most people aren't willing to touch. Everything you've heard in this speech is not theory. It's blueprint, a step-by-step mindset that separates the broke and busy from the focused and wealthy. Millionaires in 2025 won't be built on hype, hacks, or hope. They'll be built on execution, systems, and a refusal to quit before mastery. You've learned that systems are more powerful than trends. That one repeatable process beats 10 quick wins. That compounding only rewards those who first build a strong foundation. That real growth doesn't come from launching. It comes from scaling a machine. And above all, that millionaires are forged in discipline, structure, and execution. You don't need more ideas. You need more follow through. You don't need a better starting point. You need a better strategy. And that strategy starts now, not when it's convenient. Like this video, if you're done playing small. Comment, I'm building the machine, if this message hit you hard, and subscribe. Because we're not here to entertain, we're here to help you execute.